Oh, hi guys. Hey, Bobby B here. Just making some notes. I've got a new design on a wind turbine. Trying to put some stuff together. Anyway, this is going to be another little video regarding surviving the economic collapse or economic downturn or whatever it ends up being. But the reality is, like I said before, people, you know, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And that really boils down to one main thing, and that's we all need to be more self-sufficient. You know what I'm saying? We can't rely on the government for any of this crap anymore. This whole nanny state they're trying to get going really in full force, turning into more of a fascist state, if you know what I mean. Sort of a totalitarian state. That's a whole different world. So anyway, no matter what happens moving forward, I think we can all benefit from trying to become more self-reliant. So anyway, in this video, I wanted to talk about some of the things that again, my whole deal is to put all this in here and get it out to you guys. And so I'm trying to come up with some ideas too from what I've learned on ways we can be more self-sufficient. Now, I've covered a lot of things in this series, about food and, strategies with collecting silvers from money and stuff and, various things like that nature. But in this particular video, I want to talk more about energy. In other words, if something did happen and there was some sort of social collapse of the systems that we have in place, let's say the grid goes down for a while, the power grid or whatever, there's got to be other ways we can make energy. And I mean, doing it like at your house from a personal perspective. And so that's what I've been researching here for a while now. A lot of times they are comparing what's going on now with what's happened back in the Depression, and that's not really a good comparison. First of all, there's a heck of a lot more people on planet Earth than there was during the Depression, okay? And another thing, too, is back in the Depression times, I mean, let's face it, 90% of the people lived in rural areas and about 10% lived in the cities, right? Well, it's completely different now. I mean, about 10% live in rural areas and about 90% live in the city or suburbs, right? So it's a whole different demographic. And so what we really, really need to realize is that what worked back then ain't going to work now. So can you imagine where there was some sort of economic or social chaos or downturn? 90% people living in the cities, they have no way to sustain themselves for food and things of that nature. So that's what I'm trying to do with this whole series is give you guys a head up so that if something did happen, you have a way to being in a suburb or a suburban or a city area, you have a way to sustain yourself for a while because that's going to be critical. If these bastards try to knock it down even further to where the whole point of them is that what I see is they'd like to see it go do that happen that way. We'll be at our worst and we'll be like, oh, please save us, I want a free pass to the FEMA camps, it sounds like it's wonderful at the FEMA camps, I heard it was like paradise. Yeah, if you're a little pig or something, maybe it would be paradise. But us humanoid creatures, I think we're going to need a little more than the FEMA camps, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, let's get back to the details. Okay, so if 90% of us are living in the city, suburbs, and 10% live in the country, that means us people in the cities, we got to come up with some other solutions for energy needs. Let's say, to run some just the basic stuffs, maybe like some lights, I think would be critical because being in the dark is going to not be good, and you can only burn candles for so long, of course. And there's so much technology. I mean, come on, the technology exists to light the whole world without fossil fuels or nuclear energy or any of that crap. But of course, the oil cartels and the illuminate guys and all those guys that are in charge of the world, they want us to be addicted to oil because that way they can manipulate us. That's another thing. They got to, that's all they ever do is manipulate us. Now you're probably wondering what this whole thing here. This is a high-tech Kevlar lined hood for my head since I have a large cranial mass. And I want to protect what's in there because there's bullets and hop weapons and things. So this is pure Teflon. The stuff like bulletproof vests are made out of. So nothing can get into my brain. You could shoot a 50 caliber weapon. Oh yeah, it would just bounce right off my head. Well, it'd probably hurt like hell, but I'm sure I'd have a headache. But anyway, let's get back to the story, the theme of this thing. So anyway, we got to come up with some other ways to generate electricity for us guys here at these little residential areas. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking about. I'm sure you guys have heard of this, but there's a couple of things we should really be focusing on, and that's what I call hybrid energy for the residential, and in rural too, but the residential. Now, hybrid energy just means that you have two sources of electricity: wind generated like a wind turbine, and also solar. Okay, so sun and wind. During most of the year, you got some combination of those going on all the time. And if you have both, you can keep a pretty nice system going up and running. So what I'd like to do now is get into a little bit about the wind turbine stuff. We'll get into solar later, but for as far as wind turbines, like I'm trying to come up with a little new design here. I got a little wind turbine. That nut looks a little loose. Okay. Anyway, so I'm coming up with a pretty good thing. I got some little pieces of aluminum and stuff, and I developed my own little wind turbine here. Now I've got this is not big enough to generate that much electricity or anything, but this is just like a prototype, because all geniuses they have like little prototypes, like they're little science dudes. Anyway, I built this one. I think it's pretty good. Grandma thought it was good, and so anyway, I'm gonna have to do a little work on that. But what I would do to this, so I've got the wind generating process, and then I just got to connect a little electric alternator or some sort like that to it to generate the electricity, and then then I'd be ready to go. But this thing's pretty cool. But yeah, wind energy is the way to go, people, and also combined with solar, and you got plenty of energy, all you ever need. Now I'm going to put some links to a couple of home. In other words, things you can do as far as designs over here to build what I call a vertical axis wind turbine, and I think those are really a lot better for the residential because they're not affected by turbulence. In other words, you don't need a huge area, you don't need this big mast or this big tower to put your turbine up there, because that's not really practical in residential areas. I know if I tried that, the homeowners association would be all over my ass. I'd get fined every day. So what this is I'll show you. You'll take a look at the links over there. But these vertical wind turbines are really nice, and they can go just about anywhere, and they don't require any fancy space. They're not affected by turbulence. They can withstand tremendous winds. So I think that is really the technology that will be very effective for residential, and they're easy to build. You can make them out of PVC. You can dig up some old squirrel cages, that are used in air conditioning. Kind of modify those. There's all kinds of things you can do. I see a guy up on YouTube built one out of 55-gallon drums. He cut them in half, but it didn't look that good. But the ones I'm talking about made out of PVC are really nice. And there's a couple. There's going to be a in the video over here. You're going to see a couple guys that did some really nice designs out of plastic and aluminum and stuff like that. So check that out. And what basically all you need in addition to these designs is a little motor, and then that'll connect to a battery of banks. Okay, and there's a few other little pieces and electrical pots you need. There's a couple of websites out there that sell this stuff, but I think we should all start really learning how to build these things, implement them into our house electricity. Right now, since we do have electricity, you can tie it into the grid and lower your monthly bills. But if the power ever did go out, you'd still have some sort of alternative source of energy. Of course, you wouldn't be able to run your air conditioning, your heater, and all that stuff on the level of power these things run. But you could very easily, keep your lights and some radios and maybe a small refrigerator, very economically power refrigerator, and be very helpful to have that. Now, if you do live in the country, of course, you're not quite as limited. You can have a huge tower, and you have this room, and you don't have to worry about all that. But again, most of us being in suburbs, we need to be aware of our limitations and what we can put up there. So I think you'll enjoy taking a look at these things and get some ideas. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do. Let's think about it. If every house had their own source of electricity, we could we could almost eliminate our need for fossil fuel burning. And we could say, to the Middle East and OPEC and those crazy guys that, so we're like addicts right now. We've got to have our oil every day, and that's what's causing a lot of this madness. But mostly, it's the way they control us. It's another form of control. They use money, they use all kinds of ways to control us, and of course, with this oil, that's got to be the goofiest, oldest technology in the world. Here we are, it's the 21st century, and we're still having these little engines that burn fossil fuels. It's goofy, but the technology already exists. The Illuminatics guys got technology, thousands of years in advance of what the general population sheeple people get to use. We always get the crap. They have all the nice stuff. They've got ships to Mars, and jump rooms, and they can go anywhere in the universe. And we can barely get enough gas to drive around in our little steel boxes on the street. It's sick. They always give us the crap. But hey, that's soon to change, people. And I think by the very nature of what's headed through this revolution we're going to go through, that'll be one of the things that change. We're going to get the free energy. Once we have free energy, we can pretty much escape their madness, because that's how they keep us trapped in their crap. So keep that in mind. I'm going to do a couple these economic collapse series, I'm going to include a lot of the hybrid energy videos and stuff, information in there to get you guys get your creative juices flowing. Because we gotta take care of this stuff ourselves. You realize that, and nobody's going to help us. I mean, come on, people. We're Americans. We're ingenious. Wherever you are in the world, for that matter, we're human beings are intelligent creatures. We can overcome this crap. So, okay, that's enough for this one, and I'll keep it coming. But I got to do a little more work on mine. It's going pretty good, but I think it's a little loose right there. Okay, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Love ya.